Welcome to the Meeting of Minds podcast. I'm the host, Philippa Robinson. So welcome. And here we are again for another one of my hopefully short, crossing fingers, shorter episodes, trying not to ramble. So just before we get into today's episode, I just want to let you know that I am currently running some workshops, in-person workshops here in Bristol. If you live in Bristol, that might be of interest to you. I will be taking the content online as well and doing a remote workshop. So that would probably be a Saturday afternoon. It would be live, but remote, so that anybody can attend on Zoom. I just have 10 places on those workshops, and we look at things like where would you like to be more empowered in your life? Where would you like to make different choices? What is possible for you to do within the realms of your life now? What changes are possible? What changes would you like to make, if any? And, you know, sometimes it's a case of thinking about these things and realizing you don't actually want or need to make any choices at the moment. But that's a really valuable exercise as well. So, these workshops are a sort of very condensed introduction really to my longer 4-week courses in the Envision series. So if you are interested in doing a little bit of this work with me, I suggest you go over to my website, which is safeandsupported.co.uk, and have a look there for workshops and courses and things. Obviously, I do one-to-one as well. But I am finding that the majority of my work at the moment is with groups on these workshops and courses, and it's going really well. So please come and join me if you would like to. So quick little thing there. And now let's on with the episode, she says, quickly looking at the time. And today I want to talk about something that came up with a client in a session the other day. And excuse me, she was talking about, especially as women, but I don't think it just applies to women, but she was talking about this sort of myth that we can have it all. And is it actually possible? Is it possible to have a happy, healthy, fulfilling work life, home life, family life, social life? Well, I don't think it is. And we were talking about this because she's feeling certain pressure with her friendship groups. And actually her friendship group has really become quite small lately, while she is concentrating on other things. And we were talking about the reality of, you know, actually, is it possible to have everything? And she was saying that she wishes there were more people, more women, talking about the fact that it's not possible to have it all. So that prompted me to do this podcast episode because, I'm 53. This client of mine is in her late 40s. I think a lot of women in their 40s, 50s, and perhaps beyond. I haven't got there yet. We grew up at a time when we were really sold the idea that as women we could have it all. We could have, and by have it all, I think the way it was sold to us, that we could have a family and we could have a career. It was no longer necessary to choose because, previous generations really hadn't been able to do the two. And I think we were sold that message. I think it is true to some extent, but I also think it's not easy. Also, it's not necessary. You don't have to do both. So just because it's possible doesn't mean you have to do it. Also, just because it's possible doesn't mean it's going to be fulfilling, doesn't mean you're going to enjoy it, and it certainly doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Now, I can talk from my experience. I was a lawyer for 27 years. I have 2 children. They are currently 14 and nearly 16. I had my children later in life. I was in my late 30s when I had them both. And so I hadn't had to juggle the family life and the work life until my late 30s, when my career was pretty solid by then. You know, I'd been a qualified lawyer for 13, 14 years by the time I had my first son. I knew what I was doing. I was well respected. And I had got to a position that I was happy with. I never wanted to be a partner in a firm. It was never my aim to do that. I just wanted to go to work, do good work, do a good job, and work with interesting clients on interesting projects. So, you know, I was doing okay. I really was. I then had my children. With my first, I worked ridiculous hours well into my into sort of up to 38 weeks, which now is ridiculous. But, you know, that's what I did at the time. It was a blazing hot summer, actually, and the office was air conditioned. So in some ways it was actually okay being in the office because at least it was air conditioned. But yeah, it was pretty crazy. And I took 7-8 months off with both of them and then went back to work. I love my children. I didn't really enjoy the baby phase, if I'm honest. I find children generally much more interesting as they get a bit older. That's just me. I know some people love the baby phase. I didn't. But before I had children, I'd already gone down to 4 days a week because I decided I wanted more time at home than working. I found working 5 full long days a week too much. So I was already working 4 days a week. And interestingly, when I asked to go down to 4 days a week, I was told that yes, I could, but they were disappointed because they had hoped that I would be gunning for partnership, which was really interesting because it shouldn't have been about me being a partner. Because actually, I mean, if any of you who are listening work 4 days a week, as an employee, I think you end up doing 5 days over 5 days amount of work in 4 days. It's certainly that is what it felt like I was doing. But it was worth it to have that extra day off. I didn't work Mondays, so I didn't have that sinking in the stomach feeling on a Sunday night, which was lovely. Anyway, I'm digressing. When I went back to work after having had the children, I went back 3 days a week. And I worked 3 days a week mainly. There was a period when I went up to 4 for a short amount of time when I needed to, but mainly I worked 3 days a week until my boys went to nursery. My boys are nearly 2 years apart, but they're only 1 school year apart. So I kept them in nursery until my oldest started school. And so my oldest was very nearly 5. My youngest was 3.5. And they both left nursery at the same time, and they went to the same school, where one went into reception and the other went into the nursery class. Local school here, could walk them to school. But what I realized in the run up to that time was that working around school holidays was a very different ball game to them being in nursery. Because in nursery, they can go, you know, every week, unless you as in the parents are on holiday. So, but school is very different. And I didn't know how we were going to manage around school hours, to be fair, because we don't have any family here in Bristol. We didn't really have anybody we could rely on weekly to pick our children up. And after a lot of deliberation, I actually decided to leave the job I was in. I wasn't necessarily that upset to leave. It was quite a tricky decision to leave with no plan. I mean, I have left jobs before. I have several times just left job, having no job to go to, but kind of knowing what sort of job I was looking for. This was giving up that job and not really having a plan. But I did it. I left while my boys started school. And I'm really glad I did that. It was good that it was possible for us to do that. I appreciate we were in a good in a lucky position to be able to do that. I also felt like I didn't have a choice, because where I was working at work, there were quite a few women with school-aged children, and every school holidays, it was a problem as to who could have time off and who couldn't. And I didn't really want to be part of that. I didn't want to have to be making a choice to not be at home with my children in the school holidays because I couldn't get the time off work. I didn't want to be in that position. And as I was sort of a team leader, I think I definitely felt the pressure would be on me to be one of the ones at work rather than one of the ones being at home with my children. So I decided to leave the job, and which meant the kids didn't have to go to after school club and didn't have to go to school clubs, which, I suppose if they'd had to, they would have managed, they would have been okay, but they didn't really enjoy doing things out of school hours at school. So, it meant that we could have time at home. It wasn't always fun time, but I did manage to have that time with them. And gradually I got a part-time job that was like one day a week, and then it became more, and gradually that built up into more of a job over time. I was very lucky the way it worked out, and it was flexible hours. So actually I've always been able to be around for school stuff, school sports days, plays, those sort of things. I've managed to find to work a job around what I wanted to do for my family. But it has been it was at the cost of my career, really. To some degree, my career was already established, so that allowed me to find a position with the flexibility. But it did mean that I wasn't still working in a law firm, so I wasn't progressing up that sort of towards being promoted and getting, being made a partner perhaps. But actually I didn't really want that anyway. I didn't know what I wanted, but I didn't want that. I was working, latterly I worked in a law firm as a, risk and compliance officer, but I was self-employed and I worked flexibly. So if I worked, I got paid. If I didn't work, I didn't get paid. That suited me down to the ground. It really suited them as well. But I think I realized with hindsight that they felt it meant that I wasn't committed, which actually was far from the case. I was super committed to that job. In fact, when I left, I kind of fell into a bit of depression when I left, because they didn't seem to really give the monkeys about me leaving. They weren't bothered at all. Or on the face of it, they didn't seem bothered about me leaving. And that really hurt, because I'd put a lot of myself, a lot of time, a lot of effort. I worked a lot of evenings, worked weekends to get the job done. I got paid for it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, oh, it was really bad, but I put a lot into making that job work. And I think there was some element of them thinking I wasn't taking it seriously, because I insisted on staying self-employed. So I have, I suppose, put my family first, and my career has perhaps not been, on the face of it, as successful as it might have been had I put the career more at the top. Socially, I have a lot of friends. I've moved around the UK a lot, so I've got different pockets of friends all over the country. I don't see them anywhere near as much as I used to before I had children, because when you've only got weekends and school holidays and everyone's tired and you've got kids to cart around with you, then it's not quite so much fun as it used to be in the days before children. But I have tried very hard to keep in touch with all my friends over the years, but it has got harder. There is less time available. I've got less time, they've got less time. So finding time that we've both got is tricky. And some of my friendships have sort of floundered a little bit over the years. And that is, from what I can see, perfectly normal when you have small children or children who are still at home and still at school. I think now mine are teenagers. I think I thought naively when the kids were younger that they would need me less as they got older, but actually it just changes. I don't think they need you any less. It's just what you're there for, what your role is, what they need you for changes. And my oldest in particular has been having a few issues, shall we say. And he said to me the other day, actually, he said, gosh, I need you more now than I've ever needed you before. And, I was quite taken aback that he, not only did he realize that he'd actually said that to me. And it just made me very grateful that I have managed to create this life that enables me to be at home, enables me to be around, and it means I can be here doing my work but also be available for him if he needs me. And I know I'm very lucky, and my husband goes out to work, he's the one that has the solid income, and he's the one that keeps us going, because I think it is incredibly hard, given the subject of what I'm talking about, having it all. I think it's incredibly hard to bring children up, be there for them, to keep your marriage going, to have a fulfilling career that you can give your all to, and have a life outside of work and away from the family. I just think there isn't enough time, and I, for one, don't have enough energy to give. It's too costly to me to keep all those things going from an energy perspective. And I'm going to talk more about energy in an upcoming episode. Here I'm talking about just physical energy, the ability to keep going, and also to have enough of me to go around, because now I've realized I'm actually a highly sensitive person. Then I realized I really need to take care of myself, because I'm processing so much more data than people who aren't highly sensitive. It takes it out of me, and I understand now why I've always felt that somehow my experience of the world and my life has always felt a bit more difficult, or I couldn't understand why other people appeared to take it more in their stride. And I think that now I understand is down to me being highly sensitive. And that's great. It's great to have that information. It's great to know I need to take care of myself. So not only do I need to have time and space for family, work, so family, children, husband, work, some time with my friends. I also need time for me to be alone and to recharge, because otherwise I'm no use for anything. So, going back to this, is it possible to have it all? And what it all means will mean different things to different people. I'm talking about, so my having it all is about having all those relationships with my husband, my children, my friends, with my, I suppose in the past, work colleagues, now clients, having all those working well and functioning well, and me being able to be present in all of those relationships, as well as being able to give some of me to work so I can earn some money. That is what having it all means to me. I think to other people, it might mean different things. It might mean maybe having a job that brings in money to enable you to have lots of the material things that you want, or have the holidays and the trips that you want, or having the money available maybe to help other members of your family who you need to help, or having the time to spend with your parents who are perhaps needing more help, all of those things. So having it all is going to mean very different things to different people. But I do think over the years, where we direct our time, our attention, our energy, our money as well, does need to change, because there isn't enough of it to go around to everything that life brings us. And we do need to make choices. so that is what I wanted to say on the podcast today, largely because this client reminded me that I don't think there are enough people saying, especially to women, that whilst it is theoretically possible to have it all, you do need to make choices, because it's not actually possible to stay sane, to not feel burnt out, to enjoy life and have it all, because something's got to give, and it isn't possible. And that's not meant to be I hope you can see the positivity in that message, that actually, if you're trying to have it all and struggling, no wonder you're struggling. So actually, unfortunately, the other side of that is that you need to make choices. And those choices can change over time. I am hoping to have time in a few years where less of it is directed towards the children, and that can be maybe directed more towards me and my husband spending more time maybe visiting friends. So hopefully that will come back in. I don't know. We don't know what the future looks like, but choices need to be made. And just because theoretically we can have it all doesn't mean that we actually can or should really be aspiring to that. Because the first thing that usually goes when we are aspiring to that is time for ourselves, and time to recharge, and time to process and assess what's going on so that we can make choices. And what happens is so many women, certainly in my age group, late 40s, 50s and younger, are just suffering burnout over and over and over again. And we can't keep on like this. And nor should we. So, let's make a stand now, and let's say, no, it's not possible to have it all. So what we need to do is make choices, and make, and choices that are aligned with what is important to us. So, if family is really important, then, perhaps family always comes first and everything fits around that. Or, maybe career is most important and other things can fit around that. I mean, I'm not here to judge anybody's list, order of importance. It's just important that we get clear ourselves so that we can make choices that are aligned with what matters to us. Okay, I'm going to stop rambling. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to anybody who's watching on YouTube. Thanks to you who are listening on whichever platform you're choosing to listen to the audio on. And see you back next week for another episode. Drop me a line if you would like to get in touch. I would love to hear from you. So actually, if you could let me know, if you're a long-time listener, whether you like these shorter episodes better than the longer ones, or whether you have a view on the length or anything, please get in touch. Okay, and check out my website, www.safeandsupported.co.uk for any for courses and information there about working with me and my book, should you be interested. Okay, you take great care of yourself, and see you soon. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Meeting of Minds podcast. You can find this podcast in all the usual places. Please tell your friends, please subscribe, and if you have a moment, I'd be really grateful if you could rate and review, as it helps other people find us and helps me spread the messages of empowerment and positivity that I'm really passionate about. If you want to find out more about me, you can visit my website, www.safeandsupported.co.uk. Until next time, bye.